Hey, this is your boy Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show. Nice to see you guys again. You know how we do it. Sometimes we have guests on the show. I'm not always just running my mouth by myself. Sometimes we have things that we want to share with you that you really need to know. I've come to know Miss Nora Massey. I call her Sister Nora. I met her through a good friend of mine. You know him, Ted Hayes of Your Power Weapon. We both like that, man, don't we, Nora?
Yes, we love Ted. Yes.
Outstanding. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today Nora Massey has agreed to come on to the Southside Unicorn Show to share her story with us. I heard part of her story about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I could not believe what I was hearing. So, it's your turn. You're going to hear that story. And hopefully it's going to move you to some kind of action, some kind of support. And if nothing else, you are now about to become aware of some of the things that are happening in New York State. You know, the woke state, the evolved state that cares about Black people. Nora, where
Yes.
are you, Nora? Where are you so that people can?
I live in Buffalo, New York.
And that's where basically all of this began, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with Nora Massey, and it's about her son Terrell. Did I pronounce his name right? I hope I got it right.
Terrell. It's okay.
Terrell.
Everybody always gets it wrong.
Yeah, because it's a unique name. You gave your son one of those unique names.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Terrell Massey. This young man is not with us anymore. He passed away. And it's that issue that we want to share with you about how it happened. Nora, you gave birth to Terrell when?
March 10th, 1989.
1989.
In Cheatersburg, Virginia. Huh?
In Cheatersburg, Virginia, huh?
Yes.
Wow.
We're from Virginia. Yes.
So what was it, like 6 pounds, 7 pounds?
Oh, he was the biggest child I had, actually, that he he was 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Yes.
Wow. And so your husband had to be pretty proud to have a bouncing baby boy coming on board, right?
Yes. He was the only son too. So
how many children do you have?
2 girls still left.
You have 2 children alive, but you gave birth to 3. And Terrell was he was the oldest?
No, he was my middle child.
Oh, he was the middle child.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, at least when you get to the middle child, you got some practice by then, right? You got things going on. So tell us about Terrell. What kind of a young man was he growing up?
Terrell was always an active young man into something. He loved sports. He was an excellent little. He was that kid that you just couldn't turn your head on. He was into something. Mm-hmm. And as he was growing up, when he went to school, he was that jolly little kid that everybody loved. So he didn't meet strangers. He just thought everybody would be his friend. And as he grew up, he was a football player. Every time a sports was going on, he played football, he played basketball. He was this kid that was very talented in everything. And then I discovered down the line, he even knew how to draw. So he started, drawing and, making little creative things. And that talent came while he was incarcerated. He started drawing a lot.
Okay. So he was he's what you would really call a gifted child, because those tinkerers, those kids that are always out there, the open kids, not the introverts, but the ones that are like out there, we often find, later on in life, they're the Marvin Gayes, they're the George Washington Carvers. So you kind of saw that in him as he was growing up, huh?
Yes, and he played the drums in church. He, like I said, he was the type of kid that was like a challenge. Is nothing that he couldn't do. His personality, outgoing. He has my personality basically, and he just was he was very funny. But overall, he was a good kid.
Yeah, and when I use the word average, I'm not diminishing. I'm actually expanding. you would say he was your average good kid, right?
Average good child. Yeah.
Wow. So you one of your greatest memories. Just share it with us if you would.
One of my greatest memories is when we went to on a family trip to Virginia,
Mhm.
and my son, he was around 9 or 10, and he thought he was going to disrespect me and his father like he was running something.
Oh no.
And at one of my girlfriend's house, and before he knew, you don't do too much and get away, and mama don't see it.
That's right.
And I grabbed him up so quick, and he looked at me and just bust out laughing. And my girlfriend remind me of this day, because I don't know what my facial expression was when I yoked him up just that quick, and my back was turned. So
Wow.
she teases me to this day about that time at her house when Terrell was going for, when they get the
When he,
9
when,
or
he, when he
10.
got a little grown,
Yeah,
he thought he was ready to be grown. I remember days
yeah.
like that.
Oh,
My
yeah.
mom almost snatched the life out of me. You know, she was like, "Boy, who you think you're talking to?" So I can see that was one of those mama moments for Nora. You know,
Yes,
so it sounds to me he's got his mom, he's got his dad, he's the middle child. He's got company with his siblings. Uh, the discipline, I can hear discipline in what you're sharing with us, even in your memories. He had a discipline structure, and you say that he was in church. He's a church going child too.
yep. I kept them in church, my children in church. Yes.
Outstanding, outstanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a picture of this young man. He is your good young black male child growing up with his family. And these memories that Nora's sharing, that's when he's a child. But as we know, when young people start to get a little older, 13, 14, 15, 16, whoo, those are some
Yeah.
difficult years, because they're still learning, but they're experimenting. And they're not kids, but they're not fully grown yet either. And sometimes things can find them even when they're not looking for it. And so
Yes.
we turn to the story of your son, Terrell. At about age 16, did things start to change for him? Did you feel anything changing?
No, at age 14 and 15, things start changing.
How
He
so?
started being rebellious,
Hmm.
like the average
The average
teenager
teenager,
does.
yeah. Hmm.
Rebellious to the point where he wanted everything he wanted. He wanted to try and challenge us as his parents. He started comparing his lifestyle with the because we live in a suburbs, and predominantly only 3% blacks in the suburbs. So
Hmm.
he started comparing himself to the Caucasian children driving their
Now,
mom
now, now,
cars.
now, wait, wait. When you say comparing himself to the white kids in his neighborhood, when he makes those comparisons, what is he comparing it to? Because I mean, you're clearly living in an affluent area, or at least you're doing okay. So
Yes,
you have the trappings and the things, right?
yes,
So what is he comparing himself to?
because he wasn't driving to school. He was
Oh,
on a yellow bus, and
oh,
he
I
wanted to
see.
drive the car. He
Hmm.
wanted a car.
And Mo was like, that ain't happening, right?
It wasn't happening. No,
Hmm.
absolutely not. It happens when you graduate from high school and or get ready to walk across that stage. Then maybe we'll think about it. And when you start keeping your room clean without mom and dad have to tell you to
There it
clean
is.
it, and doing
Hmm.
your chores around the house. So then he started acting up, and he started um, cutting classes and hanging out and getting in trouble
Oh.
in school, where I have to get off work and go get him out of school.
Hmm.
And then one time he went to school. We took him to school, actually. His dad dropped him off on his way to work.
Oh, daddy took him to school. That's not a
Yeah.
good day. Okay.
And he left. He left school.
Dad dropped
Went
him off, but he went ahead and went on back out of that school, huh?
with his friends that was driving, took him somewhere,
Ah,
and then he come back smelling like a marijuana plant, and
okay.
and got kicked out of school.
So there it is. That's pretty much when things started kind of going a little different. But it's not
Yes.
because mama wasn't doing her part. It
Oh
definitely ain't
no.
because daddy wasn't doing his part. When daddy drops you off at school, that's some real stuff. But again, what can you do if a young person who is still young, killing themselves, you know what I'm saying? They got this group of friends that are influencing them. Young people, I hope you're paying attention. I hope you're listening to the story that Nora's sharing with you. Parents are doing this stuff because they love you. They're trying to protect you from something. Don't forget that. Don't get it twisted. So now, Nora, we're let's go to the age of about 16, where all these troubles started. You share with us the day that things really got different for Terrell? About age 16, if I'm correct, right?
Well, he got in trouble when he was 16.
Okay.
He had just turned 16 1 month and 10 days into
Okay.
16 years old. And today is actually to the 17th year since he was incarcerated. This is his day that he went to prison
It's kind of
today.
ironic that we would be having this show on this day that was not scripted, that was not planned. It's organic. It happened the way things happen. So basically, you're saying he was incarcerated in prison at age 16. I mean, what happened to juvenile court? What happened to treating him like a minor? None of those things occurred?
Well, let me back up a little bit. Ken, it's a group crime. So you have a 39-year-old involved. You have a 21-year-old, which was the 20-year-old friend, and the 39-year-old Lynn.
Let me stop you right there just for a minute. Continue when I put this injunction in there. A 39-year-old and a 20-something-year-old, you cannot be friends with a 16-year-old without the parents' permission. And I'm thinking, Nora, you did not give permission for your son to be friends with these people.
I didn't know these people at all.
Mm-hmm,
So you have a 21-year-old, 20-year-old, a 18-year-old girl, which was she
mm-hmm.
played.
Well,
She
let's
was a
just
cheer.
continue to list them out. Let's continue to list them out.
Okay, she was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Terrell was 16, and he
Mm-hmm.
had a 14-year-old friend in the crime as well.
Okay, so Terrell was basically one of the youngest people in the bunch,
Yes,
and the majority of his friends, air quote, were adults
yes.
and,
Other
and
than the
adult males, right?
14-year-old.
Pretty much
Other than
adult males.
yes, with two young ladies
Mm-hmm.
and two males. The two
Okay.
20 and 21 were males. Yes.
Well, I like to play a game sometimes, or just, mention things in a natural way that I do things on the Southside Unicorn Show. I like to go, one of these things is not like the other. Tell me, can you guess which one? Nora, your son is a 16-year-old Black male. What was the makeup of his air quote friends?
Well, normally his friends were the football players that he played football
No,
when
no, no,
we
no. I'm talking about the people that you just listed.
the people that I was only the 14-year-old I'm familiar with. Those other people, I didn't know them at all.
No, that's not what I'm asking. Let me just ask it this way. Was your son the only Black person involved in this crime and the other people were white?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So now I don't normally parse things by race. That's not my style. Everybody knows that about the Southside Unicorn Show. But I had to bring that up because of where we're about to go. So young Terrell is now in the criminal justice system. He's 16 years old. He clearly wasn't given juvenile treatment. He was treated as a full-fledged adult from word go. Did he have any other major crimes that he had committed that caused him to say, forget it, we're taking you straight to adult?
No, he had a childhood fight with one of the kids in the neighborhood.
That's not enough to go ahead and try to, so now without all the specifics of the crime, he was party to what resulted in the death of a human being, correct?
Yes.
He was not the proponent that physically caused the death of the person. He just happened to be there. Am I getting this right?
Well, they convicted him as the person that convicted the crime.
That committed the crime.
That committed the crime. Yes, they convicted him as the main person that did the crime.
So a 15-year-old in the presence of a full-fledged adult is the ringleader.
Yeah, that's how they painted the picture on the media as well.
That doesn't sound right to me. 15-year-old kid is the ringleader of all these other people who committed this terrible crime.
Yes, grown people.
Grown people. Yeah, that sounds kind of sketch to me. So now he's in the criminal justice system, and his sentence was 15 years to life.
20.
20 years to life.
Yes.
And at 15 years old, I just don't see where that balances out. That almost sounds like cruel and unusual punishment.
Yes.
As this plays out, and this is now the year 2022, where are the other subjects that were involved in this crime? Were they taken through trial as well?
No, only one went through trial was my son and the 39-year-old. The 21 and the 20-year-old, they got 1 to 3 years. The 18-year-old, she got 6 to 9 or something. And the 14-year-old, they gave him juvenile status.
They gave him juvenile status, but your son was scantly a year older than this person.
He was 2 years. My son was 16. Yeah, but he still
just turned,
was a juvenile. Yeah, he just turned 16.
This is sounding sketch to me, Sister Nora. So today, we no longer have your son. He passed away. Can you share with us? And if you nod your head, that makes it a little difficult. You gotta speak it. I know, that might be hard for you to enunciate. But your son is no longer with us. He passed away. Did he pass away at home, or was he still incarcerated? What happened?
My son was in custody when he passed away. Been the pandemic. Well, I've been instrumental in his life for 16 years, fighting for his wrongful conviction up to the day he passed. And then the pandemic came in between, which led to almost 2 years. I couldn't see my son because of the pandemic. So, but he called all day, every day, 24 hours a day. He called every chance he got. So I knew that he was okay. And his thing was calling to make sure that his mom was okay.
Yeah.
No,
of course.
Certain times we always had this system. If I don't hear from you in 2 days, I'm calling the horn.
You're checking.
So,
You're checking.
Yeah,
that's calling. What mamas do. That's what mamas do.
I'm calling.
I mean, I'm in the Air Force over in Korea, and I kind of forgot to contact my mom. I was busy. I was living my life, and I'm over in, I'm in a new country and all that. And the next thing you know, the chaplain from the Red Cross comes knocking on my commander's door saying, "Do you have an airman white here?" His mama's worried about him, So I understand the mama's love is long reaching. So while your son was incarcerated, I understand he fell ill. He started having medical problems.
He started having medical problems back, I'll say, in 2018, when he calls me and I say, "Where were you?" "Oh, Ma, I just got out the hospital." "And what did you get out the hospital?" Because I was vomiting.
Oh,
and
wow.
They were giving me tickets talking about I was drunk. And I'm like, or high. I'm like, drunk or high because you vomit. I said, there's a pandemic going around. I said, so what is really going on here? They're not testing you, because I'm in the medical field for 150 years. So I know the protocol.
Wait, stop. You said you've been in the medical field for 150 years. Let's qualify that. So
I've been in the medical field for numerous years.
Time.
So yeah, so I know protocol.
Right.
So he goes to the hospital so they don't give him no testing of drugs or test
Well,
his
yeah,
urine.
you would think if they're going to accuse your son of being under the influence of drugs, where's the drug test? It's right. He's right there. He's in
Thank
their
you.
care and custody. Did they ever perform a drug test and find results that he was indeed on drugs?
They
You got
never
to.
gave him a test. That's how
They
I'm
never
trying
even
to,
bothered giving him the test.
right. I'm trying to figure out how do you make those assumptions just because the CEOs tell each other that he's under the influence. And he was
Well,
probably
okay,
having
and what says in all fairness, and please forgive me, Nora. In all fairness, there's a thing called the field sobriety test, and you can look at a person and get a pretty good, dial in on whether they've been drinking or they're under the influence of drugs or what have you. I'll give law enforcement that credit coming out of the law enforcement family myself. Howsoever, we come back to this question: if that's what you suspect, if you're going to accuse him of that, where's the test?
yeah, and there was never a test. To this day, I'm waiting for a test.
Okay.
So then it goes, he's
So they
in
started
right.
with all due respect. You say they gave your son a ticket. That means he's already been basically found guilty of being under the influence of something if he's receiving what's called a ticket, correct?
Yes.
So now his behavior and his conduct is being diminished simply on face value. But your son is
Yes.
sick. Your son is having medical issues at that time.
Yes. Without even, I didn't know he had any. Like I said, the pandemic was going around and it was
Mhm.
going around in prison as well.
Of course,
So
yeah.
then once you start getting those tickets, now they put you in the box. Now he's in the box on lockdown for 20, 23, 24 hours a
I
day.
don't know what that is, but it doesn't sound good. Is that like solitary confinement?
That's what it is.
And
Yes.
he's put in a box every day for 21 hours a day, and
Yes.
he's sick. He's not feeling good. He's throwing up, and instead of getting him to
Growing
the
up
infirmary
and passing out.
and passing out. Well, I mean, I know that if you smoke sticky icky or if you get some other type of stuff in you, you're gonna act a little funny. Throwing up and passing out. These sound like warning signs of something medical happening to a person. And instead of getting him to the infirmary, you're saying they put him in a box.
Yeah.
How many
Take
times
him
did
to
that
the
happen?
infirmary, don't
Mhm.
find nothing, and bring him right back. Or he's on drugs.
So when you say okay, so they did take him to the infirmary. I'm trying to learn here. They did take him,
Yep,
but
they took him.
their results were that unfounded. They didn't see anything that would have him going. Did he tell them how he was feeling or what was going on? Did he share that
No,
with them?
he didn't have to tell him because he vomited up all over the cell.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the evidence was there.
Well, now I know you're not a doctor and you're not licensed to practice medicine. But
No.
like you said, you've been in the medical field for about 150 years. I heard you say it. Heard you say it, Nora. Um, what do you think might have been going on with the son? If he's passing out and throwing up, what is that symptomatic of?
Well, actually, Ken, at that time, they should have been testing them for COVID anyway on a
No COVID
regular
tests were performed
basis.
either?
Huh?
No COVID tests were performed either?
Well, no, nothing with my son because
Oh,
even though I'm looking through his paperwork, all this stuff I got for him, and I see people signed off that he refused testings and this and that, and I know my son.
and
That's
he was
I
not.
know my son.
And granted, let's go back to what you said earlier. He's a young teen. He was being rebellious with you, and dad had to take him to school. We get all that. We get all that. But when somebody's sick and they're not feeling good, I don't see them refusing medical tests. I don't understand how that could be in his best interest. And he wasn't dealing with any mental issues, correct?
No,
Okay,
no.
so I don't know. Sometimes, on the back end of something, especially sadly, where someone's death, occurs while incarcerated, who knows what happens to that paperwork? Who knows when they signed off that he refused to be examined? It's sounding really sketch, Nora. So now we're talking 2 years in the pandemic, a couple times in the box. He's picking up tickets for exhibiting behavior that they want to just automatically call being under the influence. From the moment you noticed that he was, he told you, Mom, I'm not feeling good. This is what's going on and I'm sick. And, I know you could only communicate by telephone. How long did that go on before it just really got inescapably, bad that they had to accept something medical was going on with your child?
Well, every time he said that, I told him, well, did you call and ask to see a nurse? And he said, he said, oh, they don't do anything. And he was right, because I read a lot of paperwork where he was crying out for help. He wanted to see a nurse on paperwork.
So stop just right there, Nora, because I want the audience to get an understanding. He wasn't refusing to see the nurse. He's saying that when he made a request to see the nurse, they didn't do anything.
Right. They didn't do anything for him.
Okay.
But this happened, like, I've started seeing a change from like last year, with him constantly passing out and vomiting. And that's when I kept encouraging him that you need to see a nurse or something, because that doesn't sound good. Something is going on.
Something's wrong. I mean, when you're constantly passing out and vomiting, that almost, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not licensed to practice law, but we're having a conversation with you about what could have been happening with your child. That sounds like a cancerous situation to me, like something internally is not going right. Nora, we've reached the point where I have to take a station break. Will you stay with us for one more segment so we can continue to talk about this situation?
Yes, I will, Ken. Yes.
Thank you so much. This is Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show, and we'll be right back after these messages go nowhere.
Hey, my name is Toot Sweet, and I'm New York City's original artist, singing for the cause of freedom. I've spent the last 10 years of my life documenting history through my music. It's like a recipe that's blessing me, bringing out the best of me, aggressively testing me to create my own destiny and understanding, universally accepting adversity and learn more lessons in life than you're learning any. And when I'm in need of a dose of reality to escape the liberal land of make-believe, I tune in to the Southside Unicorn, where the truth is as solid as New York City concrete. My name is Toot Sweet, and you're listening to my friend Ken White on the Southside Unicorn, and this party is just getting started.
You are listening to the Southside Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend Ken White. He'll be back after these messages.
When I see a new broadcast from the Southside Unicorn, I can't wait to listen to it. You just never know what he's going to say.
Hey, it's your boy Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show. And today, our guest is Nora MASSEY, Sister Nora. She's given us a story about her son, Terrell. If you've been with us on the first segment, you can see where this is going. This is a situation where a young man was incarcerated in the state of New York City, in New York, and he was having medical problems. He also appears that he had some legal problems that all just came together into one perfect storm that ultimately, I would say, contributed to the loss of her child. So Nora, when we left off, we were talking about the son calling you and telling you that he was not feeling well and you giving him instructions to go see a nurse. So now let's go on. Was there a point? I mean, because if your health is failing, if it's failing, you do indeed reach a point where you're not able to be ambulatory anymore. I mean, if it's a degrading health issue, did your son reach that point where it was just inescapable? There's something wrong with this man. He is sick. He ain't under no influence of no drugs. He's just sick. Did a point like that arise?
Well, I couldn't visit him or see him. So, but far as talking to him, I'm only detecting what's going on with him.
No. I mean, what I guess what I'm asking, Nora, is, was there a point where you couldn't even talk to your son because his body, him, he had reached a point where he could no longer speak? Did that ever happen?
No, that's only when he was in the hospital, when I went and he was in the hospital. But while he was in solitary confinement, he normally calls like every day constantly. Then days will be like, the most he won't call is 1 or 2 days. That's because he was going to the infirmary or he wasn't feeling well. I didn't get a call. Then when he bounced back from whatever he was in, he'll call me and tell me what happened to him.
Okay. So there was some prognosis that said, okay, he came in, we took care of him, and this is what it was. What were some of the issues that they said occurred to your son? What was making him sick?
The issues that they said while he was incarcerated, he was always drunk.
And they stuck to that. They just stayed with that.
On drugs. Yeah, they stayed with that.
So now, Nora, I just gotta get to the nitty-gritty of it. There came a day when your son passed away in custody of the authorities. What happened?
Now that I can't even understand. I'm still trying to figure out what happened. I had just spoke to my son the Monday on the October 25th, and we were laughing and giggling like we normally do. So that would have been my first time seeing him in 2 years. So we were saying, I said, I can't wait till Saturday get here. We got a lot of catching up to do. So after the conversation, I didn't hear nothing from my boy in a couple of days. So you know my rule, I'm on the horn.
That's right. It's been 2 days. I need to hear from you.
I hadn't heard from him. I called the counselor, want to know, and that was like a Friday. I let the week go on because I know sometimes he can't get to the phone, and the phones had been acting up a lot of times when we were communicating. So I said, I'll just wait till Friday on my lunch break. I'll give him a call. So the counselor looks in the paperwork and looks in the computer and says, I said, counselor, what's going on with my boy? I haven't heard from him in a couple of days. He goes, he lost his phone privileges. And he's in solitary confinement, remind you. I said, lost his phone privilege? I said, I just spoke to him. And how do you lose your phone privilege in solitary confinement? Could you answer that question? I said, what do they have in the computer? The reason why.
What did he do? Yeah, what could he have possibly done?
He said, Miss Massey, I can't answer that question. I don't know. I said, okay. I know the pandemic with all the visitation rules changed. So could you tell me when is my son's next visit? He said tomorrow, which was Saturday. I said, okay, then I'll come see my boy and see what's going on with my boy.
Well, of course.
I get there, drove 2.5 hours to see my boy. You know how you get that weird feeling about something ain't right going on.
A mama's gut feeling, yeah.
They processing me in the parking lot. Now, I done been to this prison 1,001 times. Never been processed in the parking lot before. They coming to me, and then you here to see Mr. Massey? I said, yes, I am. And you his mother? I said, yes, I am. Oh, he's in the hospital. What? In the hospital? Yeah, he took an overdose last night. I said, the damn devil is a liar.
Amen. And so go ahead. No, please continue.
So I said, okay, I need to speak to somebody. Who's in charge? All of a sudden now, I want a lieutenant. I want somebody gonna tell me what the hell is going on with my son. Nobody won't tell me nothing.
Yeah, because this is extremely sketched by this point. I mean, you're not able to talk to your son. He's being pulled in and out, woke up in the middle of the night and moved with no notice, with no paperwork, just simply transferred here and there and all over the place. And now mama's here to see about her baby. And it's, he had an overdose last night. Well, then they were aware that you were coming that following morning. You told them you were coming, correct?
Yep.
So Nora, and I know you probably don't know this answer unless it's been discovered through investigation. Where are these drugs coming from? This young man is incarcerated. He's in prison. And I'm not being naive. I understand cell phones, all kind of stuff can find its way into the prison system. I've seen correctional officers actually go to prison themselves for being the ones that helped to get that stuff inside. But now, still, I'm being careful here. I don't want to be rude or seem callous to your situation. Continue. Did your son pass away that day, or what's going on, Nora? I'm trying to get to something. I want to ask you a question.
Ken, I was devastated. I couldn't even find my son that day at the hospital. It was like maybe 10 minutes away from the prison. I couldn't find it. I went alone. So when they told me he was in the hospital, I was devastated.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally got myself together, the Spirit just said, go home, get your family, and then you guys come back tomorrow. And
come back in numbers. Yeah, come back in force.
Yes, so that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
But by that time, when I was getting dressed that morning, nobody never informed me he was even in the hospital. So when I'm getting dressed that Sunday morning to go back with my family, now the imam of the prison calling me, giving me all the information, where he at, the nurse name that I could call to see what's going on with my boy. She calls, and I said, so I call a nurse and talk to her. I got everything wrote down that she's saying. She said, he's in critical condition. He's on life support. He's got kidney failure. She just was rattling off so much stuff.
Just a laundry list of things that went wrong. Basically, his body was crashing.
I just lost it. I just lost it. So I called his father, and we went down, seeing my boy.
I know you got to be reliving that. I'm so sorry, Nora.
Nope, seen him. It's okay. It was a mess. He was a mess.
It was a mess. What are you saying, Nora?
Tubes all over his face. He didn't have no bruises or nothing like that because he's a fair-skinned young man. No bruises or nothing, but tubes all over his face.
On his face?
Yeah, he had it on his nose, and the life support going up his nose, and the oxygen and all of that stuff all over his face. And so I'm like, what's going on with my son? They didn't know what was going on.
Was he conscious? Was he able to look over and say, hey, Mom, I'm glad you're here?
No, he was unconscious. He was in a coma. He was in a coma. That's what I left off. Okay. Yeah, so they was like...
And I understand. That's why we're being patient with you, Nora. You know, you're a mom relating a very painful story to us, and we're grateful that you're sharing this with us. A lot of the audience, a lot of the viewers, they're going to have opinions and perhaps even suggestions that they'll be offering you. So when this does air, pay attention to it, because I'm sure people will be chiming in with information or perhaps sharing similar stories that we can try to understand what happened here. I mean, so your son is in the hospital. He's got all this stuff going on. He's in critical condition. Did he come beyond that, or is this the moment of time when he was about to pass away?
No, he every time he never came. He never was responsive the whole time. Never responsive. He did open his eyes, but the eyes was not no movement. His eyes wasn't, his brain wasn't signaling nothing. So he was the hospital he was at, they didn't specialize in neuro far as the brain. So one of the doctors
so I gotta stop you right there for a minute, Nora, because I just want to put these questions in there. There lies your son. He's in a coma or a semi-coma condition. What, for all intents and purposes, it sounds like you're describing that he was brain dead or something along those lines. Did they give you your child back? Were you allowed to take your child home and get him better medical help than they were able to provide?
No.
They kept him even under those conditions?
I had to go through hoops, um, and the whole process was the Department of Corrections, they, being that my son don't have any wife or any children or anything, so I'm the next to make all the decisions on my son's behalf.
You get to make that
Yeah,
decision.
so I had to go through a bunch of hoops and everything regarding my son's care, and he was never, he didn't, it took them so long to give me a diagnosis of what was really going on with my son. And then it did add up that when they took the EEG on his head, he had brain cancer to the 4th stage. Now, this the kicker, Brother Ken.
I'm so sorry, Sister Nora. That is. Go ahead, continue.
It was, the thing was, it had been undetected for so long.
Because he's walking around drunk, right? Because he's on drugs, right?
Yeah. And so now, they waited so long he never was diagnosed, so he's unconscious. So when you're unconscious, you can't get chemotherapy, nor could you get radiation. So now you have to make this decision. Okay, he's on life support. Okay, I'm talking to the doctor. So if he's on life support,
give you back your child. Let you have your child back so you can take care of him. Did they ever give you back your child?
That never happened. I never got my child.
They kept your child even with cancer?
Nope.
4th stage?
Nope. They had him they moved him to a upscale hospital. And they were awesome at Westchester Medical Center. And then when I had to make the decision and talk to the doctor after his EEG, his brain dead.
Yeah.
So that's basically saying that he's dead.
For all intents and purposes, and I'm very sorry, Sister Nora, about that. All this time, when your son's throwing up and passing out, they want to say that he was drunk and on drugs. They took his freedom from him at age 16, when a 16-year-old in the presence of a 40-year-old and a 30-year-old isn't necessarily in charge of anything. And we all know that. We all know that. So do you have anybody helping you to get justice for your child?
His justice is 2 parts. Still fighting, Brother Ken, for the wrongful conviction piece of it.
Because he would have never been there to have these cold-hearted, dispassionate people mistreat him if the justice system hadn't rolled right over him in the first part.
Yes, that's where it started. They failed him because of his color.
Well, and I'm careful not to try to interject that right away and anything. I know I brought up the fact that his friends were white and he was the only black person there. That is a mitigating issue. I don't want to just say arbitrarily that, this happened to him because he was black. But hey, 16 years old, being treated like an adult. You're the only person that treating you like you're the ringleader. You get the harshest sentence out of everybody involved. And there were adults involved in the loss of this person's life as well. Now he's in the justice system and he's exhibiting medical maladies that aren't consistent with being on drugs or being under the influence of alcohol. And it continues to such a point that your son is on life support and goes into a brain dead condition because he actually had 4th stage brain cancer.
Yes. And
that's what I would rather deal with, than to say,
But I've been dealing with this for so long and fighting for justice, not just for my son, but other youths as well. And since this happened to my son, I did get the law changed that they're no longer to charge 15 and 16-year and 17-year-old as adults, I went to Albany and got that law changed
God
on
bless you,
behalf
Sister
of my
Nora.
son. So because this has been a long battle for me, and forgive me because, I'm just angry with this system because I'm not from Buffalo. I didn't know that this is the kind of the stuff I would be dealing with. I didn't know.
It's kind of cold. It sounds kind of cold to me. This is some cold-hearted stuff going down. I understand, Sister Nora.
I didn't never think I would lose my marriage, lose my home, lose everything to fight for justice for my son.
This is
So
a hard
I'm very
situation.
upset, and I will call a spade when it needs to be called.
Understood.
And
And
now,
when the loss of a child occurs, it puts a strain on the entire family. And sadly, often when a child is lost, the marriage seems to find its way to dissolution because there's the psychological energies and things that are going on with the loss of that child. Sister Nora, we are so sorry about this and everything that you're enduring. You were about to tell us, and now?
yeah, I was about to say, so now that all of these race issues going on in Buffalo, New York with this shooting and everything, I've been screaming this for 17 years.
You're talking about the shooting that happened at the grocery store.
Yes, the grocery store shooting. I've been screaming and yelling, trying to get you guys to see this, and wrote a letter to all the politics and everything back in 2007.
Wait a minute. Whoa. So this situation is in the same location as the Buffalo, New York massacre?
Yeah.
See, bear with me, Nora, because a lot of us don't know that geography is not, the forte of the Southside Unicorn Show. You're out of Buffalo, New York. This young man drives 200 miles to get to Buffalo, New York, because it is a densely populated Black community. So what I'm hearing you say is that same energy that made this young man want to drive 200 miles to hurt Black people, that same energy that caused some judicial system to say that the young 16-year-old Black boy is the ringleader of this heinous crime, but the white 40-year-old adult and the 35-year-old white adult, they're going to get a lighter sentence than this young man right here. Is that?
Yes, exactly. This is it, but this is where the shooting happened. I go to that Tops all the time also, but the shooting happened in Buffalo, New York, and I lived in Amherst, which is the suburbs of Buffalo, where predominantly hardly no Blacks live, but it's more now. But back when I lived there in 2005, it wasn't but like 3% back then.
So
yeah, this is the same area.
Right. So in encapsulation of your sad story, of all the people involved in the crime that caused your son to face the judicial system, but for the one that passed away in an unrelated situation, of all the people that were involved in that crime, they're all walking around free today. Am I to understand that?
Yes.
But your son was left to languish away at 16 years old. He's done some time. He was left to languish away in the prison system with failing health unto his death?
That's correct.
No, that ain't right. That don't sound right. That don't sit right. And ladies and gentlemen, those of you listening to this story, if you have similar stories, please share them. If you're out there in the legal system and there's something you feel you can do to help Sister Nora, please contact her through this show. Nora, if people wanted to contact you, and I would almost admonish you not to give your personal phone number, do you have a donation site or someplace where people can help you, Nora?
Yes, I do. I have a Cash App, application set up under $3165. N as in Nancy, D as in David, M as in Massey, and set up. You can send it there, and it will be greatly appreciated.
Because your fight's not over. I mean, your son is at rest. I understand that, but hey, if I know mamas, and I think I do, your fight's not over. It's still going on. You've gotten legislation changed so that other young mothers or families don't have to see their children languish away like this. And God bless you for that. Thank you for your strength to be able to still look out for others in your loss. But the fight's not over. It's still going on. So those who can help, please help her so that she can continue to get legal help for the, because if okay, what I understand is you're actually still fighting his conviction.
Yes. Yes, that's what he was fighting, trying to get out at the time, you know, all of this took place too. We we were at the point where he the appellate denied everything that we sent for his conviction to be overturned and for him to be released. And that's where we were continuing to submit documentation so that his case will be heard.
Something sounds real fishy here, because for those courts to make those decisions, but then at a later point in time, for you to go back to that same judiciary and get these rulings passed where they would no longer treat young people that way. You see what I'm saying? The two don't, something sounds like they were covering their butts. And you brought something to them that they just could not escape. So Nora, we have to bring the show to a close. I wanted to bring your story to the people here on the Southside Unicorn Show in hopes that they would hear it, understand it, perhaps be able to protect their children a little bit more, or at least know that this kind of stuff is going on under this particular presidency, under this energy of we are the woke, we care. Where are all these people that allegedly care about young Black men as atrocities like this are going down? We all have to care, white, black, blue, green, orange. Everybody has to care, because as the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice.
That's
everywhere.
Right.
So we had to bring your story out, Sister Massey. We had to. I'm going to give you the last minute to speak to the audience. Is there anything you'd like to say to us?
Yes. Thank you, Ken, for inviting me on this show. And yes, I'm still grieving the loss of my son, but I'm leaning on God's strength every single day. You know, he sadly missed. He was my only son. So I have to continue this fight on to make sure that justice is done on his behalf. And I know he's looking down in heaven, smiling up on me. He always worried about me. So mothers, fathers, just know your children's company, which I thought I had a handle on my boy, but don't think that you know everything that your child is doing, because sometimes they do live devil lives that you have no idea of knowing what they're doing out behind your back. And please, by all means, if they go to prison, make sure you check up on your child, ask them questions, because they're actually supposed to be giving them physicals every year in the prison. So apparently that failed my son as well, his medical.
Understood. And, you know, parents, let me just expand on that. You know, some of you out there might be afraid, you know, to challenge your child or be a helicopter parent or to check their bedrooms or their garages. Case in point, the young man who made the choice to go to Buffalo, New York and kill those people, his parents should have been looking a little bit harder. He's killing cats and all of this stuff. You don't see that? It's our job as parents to do this. And nobody can diminish your parental efforts. You know, pre-criminal contact and post-criminal contact. Sounds like you were doing everything by the numbers, Nora, you and your husband. So kudos to you for that. And thank you for continuing the fight for justice for your child.
Thank you, Ken. God bless.
God bless you too. This is Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show. And we are, well, actually, Nora, you were going to say something. Out of respect of having you on the show, continue what you were going to say.
God bless everyone, and please stay safe this world, and keep our nation and other countries in your prayers, because it's definitely a war going on all over. Everywhere. Everybody is getting it. Yes, it's just the Lord is speaking, and we must listen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
So, hey, listen to me. There's no place I'd rather be. Nothing more I'd rather do than being right here doing this show for you. This is Kim White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show, and we are out.